everybody.
Oh!
Wow.
Everybody.
It's Space Wolf Monday,
Ooh.
everybody.
Oof, oof, oof.
That's right. After a long, how long has it been? It's like 73. It's been like, I don't know. There's someone on Twitter is actually keeping a daily count of like how many days it's been since without a 40K codex. But we did get our announcement this morning.
What's the quote? Now is the winter of our discontent.
Yes.
Made glorious summer by the sons of Russ.
Something like
that. I think
that's pretty good.
Some Englishman said it. I don't know.
Thank you for coming to the Tabletop Hour. I'm Larry Bella.
I'm Abe.
And we're here with BoLS Souls, talk about everything that's going on in Tabletop and Games Workshop and everything else news. Last week was all about Gen Con, catching up on that, and we still have lots more of that. But this week, definitely, this is a Games Workshop week. All kinds of crazy stuff is going on. This weekend, we just got the announcement that Codex Space Wolves is coming. So I would expect that. They announce it. They said it's coming this week. So they released their stuff on Saturday, probably Saturday.
Yeah.
So hooray! Even so, Space Wolf Codex is going to be coming, taking us back into the Grimdark. It's been a
while.
Summer for the 40K fans.
Yeah.
It's been a great summer for Age of Sigmar fans.
Yeah,
You're like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah. It's magical. Like I notice a lot more people like 40K people have like, oh, maybe I'll play some Age of Sigmar during the summer while nothing's happening in 40K.
Yeah.
So I guess their plan worked. Good job, Games
Sure.
Workshop.
And there is a Tooth and Claw that was announced, which is there's a new box set coming.
What's some new models?
Yes.
Yeah.
One squad of new models, like 5 new models. Genestealer Cult.
Genestealer Cult, and then there's a new
Genestealer Cult Aberrants are getting which for everyone who plays Genestealer Cult, you know that you have not been able to get Aberrants at all because they only existed on the giant sprue frame that came with the with the Overwatch board game, which is long out of print. So they were like, I want Aberrants. Well, tough. So they have announced. So there is going to be a 5. It looks like it's 5 models,
it's 5 models
including like a new super aberrant who I assume.
That's pretty cool.
I assume he'll be in HQ probably, which is good. The Genestealer Cult army actually will have it'll give them a good amount of HQs. They'll have the Patriarch.
Yeah.
They'll have the Magos. They'll have the Primus, and now they'll have the
super aberrant.
And now they'll have what's his name? Who's like the big Solomon Grundy. And then they'll have Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy, no understand.
And I don't know, maybe this means a Genestealer Cult Codex is coming at some point soon.
I'm sure it will be, because that box set covers this looks like it's a box set very much in the line of like Forgebane. Forgebane was just kind of hey, here's a box set, and it has Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons that came out like right before the Necrons came out, and it had some of their new units in it. Yeah. This is probably the same thing. So, Space Wolves and Genestealer Cult.
And Space Wolves are getting a new model, right? There's a new character, like Primaris Lieutenant,
I don't think so.
I think?
Well, who knows?
Sure.
But clearly they showed pictures of Space Wolf Primaris, which we've seen with Blood Angels and we saw with Dark Angels. I'm sure it's going to be exactly the same. So it's going to be the Space Wolf Codex with all the Primaris units dumped into it,
and then like one unique lieutenant or sergeant character.
Yeah, and they'll have with Blood Angels and Dark Angels. We saw the accessories, the accessory sprue, and then basically the reboxing. They had limited release runs of like intercessors and all the Primaris stuff with the bits, with the sprue included.
And I mean, it has a Primaris Dread out of the box, right?
Sure. So
they're clearly pushing Primaris Space Wolves.
That is correct.
Here.
I bet, like with Dark Angels and like with Blood Angels, I'm going to say that when you flip through the Space Wolf Codex, I'll bet you $1, Mortimer, that there will probably be a very, 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 very heavy emphasis in both artwork and photography on Primaris Space Wolves.
Sure.
And there'll be some classic Grey Hunters like in the background, like running like slightly out of focus.
Yes.
They'll be there, but they won't be the stars.
I feel like Space Wolves actually have like the best way, like fluff wise, to just be like, now they're all Primaris, right? Because you're just like, and somehow all the old guys turn into wolves. Like, shoot, only Primaris are left.
I want Primaris wolfing. That's what I want. I want Primaris.
I mean, that's supposed to not work, right? Because the Primaris are supposed to repress the downsides of the genes.
Sure.
Which though, if we read like there's those hints in the Blood Angels book, right?
Sure.
That it's even worse when they break out.
Right.
So like a Primaris Wolfen would, in theory, be like the scariest.
Maybe he turns into a Thunderwolf.
Yeah.
Maybe you just glue Primaris Primaris like pads onto the shoulders of Thunderwolves, and that's a Primaris Wolfen.
Not even bigger or something. Like we don't know.
So, great. So that's going to become. So look at. I'm sure it's going to be all Space Wolves all the time. Like I said, GW already announced it. It's going to be all Space Wolves all the time next week. So, but this week.
Orcs.
More importantly, no.
Still no orcs. No one knows
right here.
Orcs. Yep.
You are seeing it right here in front of you. We are spending today talking about this beautiful piece of awesomeness that we've been waiting literally 30 years for.
Yeah.
Adeptus Titanicus came out in 1988.
And not just talking about it, right?
Yes, we're going to play it. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to kind of take you through it, talk about our thoughts about the game, the models, everything. We have been furiously painting everything, as you can see in front of us. We have Titans, we have buildings, we have all the little weird objective things. We'll show you those later. We have all kinds of stuff. We got the cards, we got weapon cards, we got the rule book.
Yeah.
We got all kinds.
We got everything.
This is just a giant bunch of stuff.
So this is the main box set, right?
This is the big fancy limited edition. This is the Grandmaster edition. Right. It is the somewhat controversial due to its price, but I do actually, you get
a lot out of it.
For what you get in it, it's probably costed about right. The only issue, so first of all, let's just get all the controversy out of the way. This bad boy has a price tag of $290.
Yep.
So people are losing their minds over this. Okay, so first things first. What comes in this box that would justify $290? First of all, it has 2 Warlord Titans, and as you can see, Mars, let's go back to the to our overhead. I'm going to let you guys take a look at these in more detail.
You want to grab a knight to compare?
Yes, and I'm going to grab this guy.
Yeah, let me grab a knight.
Abe's going to go grab a knight. So this is not everything that comes in the box set. There is more terrain than this. This is less than half of the terrain that we all painted up, but we didn't want to cram it all in here. So what you're going to get in this box set is, first of all, you get 2 Warlord Titans. This is the big bad boy Warlord Titans. We painted them all up in the default colors that come on the box set because we did not have a lot of time.
Until the Imperator Titans.
I have Legio Griffonicus, the War Griffins, and Legio Mortis over here, the Death Heads. I'll let you all figure out which ones are the good guys, which ones are the bad guys. It's not too hard. You get both of those. You get 2 banners. A banner is a squadron of knights. 2 banners of knights, so 6 of them. We painted these guys up in the same thing. The schemes of the 2 knight houses that are in the book that are kind of traditional bonded allies of these houses. House of Veroni over here, Veroni, and Maccabeus.
Right.
Who have a scorpion logo because they're cool. And then these super awesome modular buildings. So these buildings come on the sprue. You get, now that we have opened these and built these, we can confirm. So the buildings come in 2 different box sets. There's one called the Civitas, like Imperialis Civitas. It's basically it's the small box set of terrain, and then there's a sector version of it that costs 3 times as much that I assume basically has triple the terrain. This box set, the Grandmaster Edition, comes with 2 of the Civitas versions. Okay. So that's $80 worth of terrain. These are, I think, like 40 each, roughly. So you get 2 of those, and these guys are 110 each. So the way to think about this from a pricing structure and point of view, and then you get a bunch of other stuff. There's all these cool objectives back here that we're going to show you. A Warlord Titan, first of all, let's talk about scale.
Yeah.
There's a Warlord Titan next to a...
Redemptor Dread.
Yeah, and it is not bigger, it is substantially bigger. It is way taller model. It is more massive in every way. This is a very large kit. Take that guy away. Let's look at a Knight.
Here we got Knight Armiger.
There's a Knight Armiger.
So again, significantally bigger.
Substantially bigger, a lot more mass.
Definitely, especially on the legs, you'll notice.
Yeah,
the legs
these things are big and huge and chunky. And then we'll compare it to an actual Imperial Knight, just the normal big guy that we all love, right there, and it's a little smaller. So you put them right here so you guys can see them. There you go. Knight versus a Warlord. These cost This is like 155, 110. So 155, 110, about the same. Mm-hmm. So the way to really think about this from a pricing point of view is also when you're playing this game, the other thing to keep in mind is that there are rules for match play in this game. There are recommended sizes for how big your armies are supposed to be. And when you are playing Adeptus Titanicus, a Warlord Titan is almost down to the point. It is pretty much equivalent to, in 40k, taking a Dominus Knight.
Sure.
You can just barely fit 3 of them into your army list. So this is the big bad boy of the game, and the box set comes with 2 of them. So when you think about Adeptus Titanicus and the pricing of its box set from the perspective of like a 40k player, you want to think about it from the point of view of if a 40k starter box set came with
2 knights,
with 2 Castellans,
sure,
2 packs of terrain, and 2 sets of armigers.
Sure,
that's pretty much what you're talking about.
Well, and more than that, this isn't the only box set, right?
This is true.
This is the limited edition big box set.
That is correct.
So there are other ways to get into the game then.
Yes, you can just buy the normal starter set that's $60.
Yeah.
That comes with no miniatures, but everything you need to play the game. All the rules and whatever. And then you can just collect your models a la carte.
A la carte, sure.
So the big bad boy is 110. You absolutely do not need warlords to play this game. And a warlord is a big deal in this game. So like if you see a warlord, I mean many players may just want one.
I mean, we haven't gotten to the meta or anything like that, but there are definitely probably something to be said, especially looking at how other Games Workshop games we had, is that bunches of Reavers may be like the way to go.
And so we're going to go over this game. Also, while we're here talking, because we're going to be here for an hour talking to you before we start the game, we want your questions. So get all your questions in chat. We want to hear from you. Ask us whatever you want. We have everything here. We have the rule book. We have points. We have all. So I guess first things first, let's get into the basics of like what is this game and what does it feel like?
Sure.
To me, this is a game for players who like older editions of 40k and who want a little more complexity.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that we've seen in the industry has been make your games faster, streamline them, make them more simplified. This game has a relatively small number of units per side, right? In an average game, you're going to have between 3 to at most 8 probably different units in a normal match play game, so there's not a giant amount of units per side. Some of those units may be little squadrons of knights. Yeah. But I would think on average it's probably like 5 is what you're doing.
And I think when we're talking about the basics, it's important to also mention this is not a updated old game.
Correct.
This is an entirely new game. They're very clear about this.
From scratch.
Yeah. It does have aspects of it that are borrowed or adapted from older versions of not just
like big picture mechanics, but not how those mechanics are actually implemented.
Right.
They everything is completely new and redone.
So if you've played Titanicus way back in the day, or you played Epic or Aeronautica Imperialis, or old 40K,
it's like there's like echoes of those games, but this is not like you'll remember last year they came out with there was a version of which one was it? One of the games was just like old Necromunda, and they just updated it, but it was the same game.
Yeah,
with clarifications and typos. This is not this. This is entirely new.
This is entirely new. There are things you'll be really familiar. For instance, they have an order system, which is very similar to, reminds me very much about Gothic's order system.
Yep.
Down to that you have little order dice that show what order you've given that you put next to it and stuff like that. So
another throwback to like old school Games Workshop. This is no pre-measuring at all. Like you have to eyeball distance. You have to eyeball your arcs. You got to call all your shots before you roll any of your dice, and then it comes down to it. So this is back in that kind of the way Games Workshop games used to work, like up until like 7 or 8 like 7 or 8 years ago, where that kind of physical skill and kind of fun and excitement, that is part of it.
Now, mind you, a lot of these weapons have like 120-inch range.
This is true.
So you're not necessarily going to have to worry too much about am I in range or not?
Right. The game, it's more like are you in arc or
In
not?
arc,
That's
and
the
some
really
of the smaller night weapons and things that have shorter range.
Yeah, have shorter ranges.
When you're talking about the Warlord, is it in range?
The answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer in general is you still have to get down and see if there's line of sight.
You have to check line of sight.
You gotta check line of sight.
You gotta make sure you got the right arc and everything.
Lots of the terrain, like we used to see in old editions of 40K, the terrain is not. The terrain is abstract, arbitrary terrain.
Sure.
So forests are defined by the edge of the forest, and you kind of move the trees around as you need to. So it's very much, if you liked those kinds of games and you liked playing what Games Workshop games felt like about 10 years ago,
sure,
you're gonna love this. If you think BattleTech is cool, you're gonna love this game.
Right.
It's not BattleTech, but it has a lot of the.
It's big war machines walking around.
Big robots walking around, having to keep track of how hot their reactors are, and can they turn? The big guys are lumbering, and they turn really slowly, and the little guys are trying to get behind them. It's sound familiar?
Yeah.
Better watch out because do you want to do a called shot and try to hit someone? Shoot someone right in the head.
Right.
Stuff like that. There's a lot of cool little fiddly detail in this game that just isn't appropriate. It just wouldn't work for a game like 40K because it would just slow the game down and you'd never finish.
Yeah.
But in a game where you have, a small amount of units per side, it's going to be really, really cool.
And were you willing to take the time to play it out?
Let's see. Do we have any questions? Really? Come on, guys. It's Adeptus Titanicus. We know you have questions.
So that's the basics. I mean, that's kind of the feel of the game.
Yep.
Basics of how things work.
Yes.
Let's show off. So this is your Titan board.
Yes. This is a sample Titan command card,
and these are the same, more or less the same, depending for all Titans. The same size, right?
The game comes with 3 pairs of them. You get 2 Warhounds, you get 2 Reavers, you get 2 Warlords. Mm-hmm. We have 2 of them here to show you as an example. You can put them down here, and we can put the camera on those.
While there are different, the size and everything is the same, the layout's the same, there are specific differences, obviously.
All right, we'll pull these guys over here. Pull these guys in here. Let's move these little knights out of the way. All right, so what we have here is every Titan is going to have a command card. Mm-hmm. What you're going to do with these command cards is when the game ships, it comes with this cool little sprue of little tokens and objectives and things that you need to actually play the game.
Right.
And you're going to be using those to keep track of your Titans. Once again, this is the kind of fiddly detail that you're not going to see in a game like 40K. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these little, your little command things here.
Your little cogs,
and you're going to put them, you're going to start the game with all your guys in the green over here. Mm-hmm. And of course, I did not grab enough, so let me grab one more right here. Gotcha. Right here. And what you have is as you're taking damage and doing things, so this is your plasma reactor. This is your heat, basically. So you're going to start off here, start off in the green, and as you do various things in the game, or as you start taking damage, this thing starts to move over. And you stay in the green, and then you move to yellow, and eventually you hit orange, and eventually you hit red.
And most of the time it's a choice. You can choose to overload your reactor to gain
you can push
benefits.
your reactor.
Yeah.
Right. When you push your reactor, there's a die you roll that tells you basically how many of those pips you advance. You could get lucky and be a badass Princeps, and it doesn't advance at all. You just get the benefit, and you don't gain any extra reactor level, or you could get really unlucky and advance 2. And when you start to get into the orange and the red, that's when bad things can happen. And there's a whole reactor overheating table and whatever. And there's various ways that you can cool your reactor down. Mm-hmm. Over here, you have a second row here. These are your void shields, and different Titans have so many of them. So you'll note the Reaver here has 5 pips. The Warhound has 4. The Warlord, his cards are over there. I believe they have 6.
And the Warlord, you can also say that the Warhound has a smaller reactor. It has less pips on it.
Correct. And then over here, we have, this is your head, body, and legs. So once you're in close combat, or you're past the void shields, then you actually start doing damage to these things. And the same thing, as weapons damage you, you move across, and eventually you get into the red. And then over here you have little separate charts for critical damage that occasionally, either through bad luck, either you reach the end, or you just weird, special, bizarre, exotic weapons are capable of just doing
straight up crits. Yeah.
Straight up crits, and then these things have weird special effects. Like if your head is damaged a little bit, your mind impulse unit starts to feed back, and you take like a +2 on all your command rolls because you're confused.
Right.
And as your legs start to get messed up, you can turn less, and eventually, if any one of these three is finally destroyed, once you get it all the way to the end, and then you take more damage, the Titan is destroyed, and it's destroyed in some method,
right?
In some spectacular method. When the body is destroyed, that is a reactor meltdown. So something on the reactor table will happen that's bad, probably an explosion. Legs is where the Titan collapses, so you get some kind of staggers in some direction and falls over and does bad things to people.
Yeah.
Head is actually the one that's probably the least damaging. That just has a chance of just blowing the head clean off, and then you just kind of sit there and you're dead.
And you can also turn off your Titan.
Yeah.
If things are getting bad.
Yeah. So this isn't just, these tracks aren't one-way tracks.
Sure.
So Titans have the turn has several phases. One of the phases in the turn that we're going to show you when we're playing is the repair phase. And what you do during the repair phase is different Titans, based on how large they are, have different amounts of, what are they called? They're called
servitor clades.
Servitor clade, clades, which is basically repair teams. And you're going to roll a bunch of dice equal to how many repair teams you have. And on each of those, and then you basically trade those dice in to do different effects. So you can use if you roll low, nothing's going to happen. It was an unsuccessful repair. But as you roll higher, high dice, you can trade in for different effects. You can repair weapons that have been damaged. You can pull your reactor level down.
Right.
You can bring void shields back up. So in general, you're going to have this. As you can tell, this is definitely one of those. Within each Titan is a whole little sub game.
Yep.
Of you always want to do more than you have power to do. And you always want to repair. There's always more to be repaired than you have the ability to repair.
Right.
So every turn is, this is what a lot of the game is. It's the internal management of your Titans. You'll see that down here on the cards, there's a Warhound who has 2. There's a Reaver who has 3. You have these little spaces. This is where I'm just arbitrarily grabbing cards. These aren't the correct cards. This is where you put your weapons. So before the game starts, you pick what weapons you want, you put them onto your cards, and this gives you all the stats you need on your weapons, ranges, modifiers, what arcs of fire the weapons have, how easy it is for the weapons to be damaged. And if a weapon is damaged, another interesting thing, for people who are used to other games, if a weapon is damaged, no weapons are permanently destroyed in this game on Titans. If your weapon is damaged, you flip it over, and then it's disabled. And then it has a little number on the bottom, which is how easy it is to repair.
Right.
And
chain fist is pretty easy to repair. Apparently.
Yeah, the chain fist is super easy to repair. And then once it's so if you spend a repair, it needs a 2-up. So if you roll a 2-up on one of your repair dice, you just allocate it to your weapon, and boom, you're back in business.
Right.
Looks like we have some questions. What do we got?
Clarification?
Yes.
Can you repair damage to the head, body, and legs, or is it just weapons and void shields?
I do not believe you can repair damage to the actual body tracks. We will look that up, though. But you can absolutely repair void shields and heat and weapons. I do not believe you can fix these. You may be able to fix critical hits. In fact, I think you can repair critical hits. I believe these are the only things that you can't repair is actual physical damage.
We'll double check. We're also still learning the game here.
We are still learning the game as well.
And then up in the corner here, you will see it's kind of also the other important stats of all of these guys. They don't change as the game goes on, but you have your command, which is how easy you are to give orders to.
Yep.
That's rolled on a D10. You do use a D10 sometimes.
Yes, this game does have a couple D10s.
Yeah. You've got a speed, which is your normal speed, how far you can move, plus if you push it, how far you can move.
Yep.
Maneuverability is how many turns you can make. That can also be pushed using your reactor.
Using your reactor.
You've got a ballistic skill, a weapon skill, and then a number of clades that you have too.
Yep.
And talking about dice real quickly, there's like 6 types of dice in this
There's
game.
a lot of dice in this game. We have normal D6s.
Yep.
You have I'll go get some.
So we have normal D6s, which they do come with custom dice. I like them. You've also got D10s in the game. You use those for some rolls. They're not super common, but you do use the D10s for scatter in particular, which is the difference. If you played scatter in most other Games Workshop games, you roll 2d6.
Right.
For scatter, and this you use a D10, which gives you a much better track, right? There's no hard averages or anything.
Yep.
Of course, you have your standard scatter dice
that you use for deviating and all kinds of weird stuff like that.
If you're new to Games Workshop, if you're newer to Games Workshop games, you might not know to recognize.
Sure.
We've got your D6, which again, like I said, it's got this cool Titanicus symbol on the 6. I like that. This is your reactor chart dice, which you'll roll.
That is what you use anytime you push your reactor.
Yep.
You roll that, and this is the particularly interesting one. So what you're going to see on this die is that the number of little radiation symbols, this is how much you advance your reactor. So normally when you decide to push your reactor, it's going to advance 1, which is normal, but you do have a slight chance of something went wrong and it advances 2, which could be very dangerous. You might also get super lucky and it doesn't advance at all. And you just get the benefit. Right. And then one of the dice is the radiation symbol with these weird little gear things on it. And that is the machine spirit logo. And that means that while pushing your Titan, you temporarily lost control of it, because Titans are controlled by very powerful machine spirits, and it fought back. And and there's a machine spirit table that you roll on, which isn't necessarily bad. Sometimes it's basically neutral to positive, actually. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of to represent the fact that, as they point out, Titans are such important machines that, the machine spirit that you see in like a Land Raider is nothing compared to the machine spirits that the Adeptus Mechanicus put into their Titans, and these vehicles are very much autonomous. Like they can run rampant with no one on board.
Right. I mean, they have like imprints of all their previous pilots and stuff, and princeps in them.
Right. And
which
whatever
can sometimes take over.
And whatever type of animal is used to imprint. Right. It's
a lot of different things go into these kind of Gestalt machine spirits.
Right. Almost. And so if the princeps temporarily kind of the horse goes wild on him, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it'll do nothing. Sometimes your Titan may just move forward uncontrollably. Sometimes you'll be angry and take a shot at the closest enemy. So it's kind of cool. You get that kind of detail. Then you also have your order dice, which
you don't roll this one at all.
This is never something you roll.
Rarely.
There are 6 different orders that you can do when you play the game, doing everything from emergency repairs, which gives you pluses on all your repair rolls. So when you're on fire and no void shields and overheating and you're in terrible shape, that's the one you want. You can split fire. Normally in this game, Titans have to fire all their weapons on one target. You can choose to split fire and do that.
We'll go over all of them as we play. But there are 6.
Yeah, there's first fire. There's full stride, charge, and then everyone's personal favorite, emergency shutdown. I have a feeling we're going to see that one.
And the last dice you have is the location die, right?
Yep, you have the classic location die. This is a die that hasn't been used in a long time. This is pretty much the old die that you used. I have not seen this since Epic. This is the old Epic die. So this is what you use when whenever you do successfully get through the void shields and you damage a Titan, you're going to be rolling this. Ta-da! Special.
Normally special hits body, unless the Titan specifically says otherwise.
Exactly. So body.
Yeah.
This will tell you what part of the Titan you hit. You do also have the ability to give yourself a negative modifier to hit to try called shot.
Sure.
Where it's harder to hit, but if you do hit, you get to pick, which is very cool.
I did double check also. You cannot repair your legs, body, or your head.
Okay.
You can vent plasma. You can repair weapons. You can restore shields, and you can repair critical damage.
Right. So basically, at some point, once Titans start getting beat up, it's not they can't magically repair the metal.
Now this game does have like stratagems and things like that in it.
Yes.
So it's possible that either I haven't read through all of them. It's possible there is a stratagem, or that there will be a stratagem, or some ability later on that does allow you to do that, but that does not come straight out of the repair mechanic.
This game is the core rule book is very, very nice. We have it's 100 pages, hardback, done very much in the style of the Horus Heresy books. For those of you who are familiar with the Horus Heresy books, except that the Horus Heresy books are all like beige and red.
Why would
these are blue?
Why would this have anything to do with the Horus Heresy?
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand.
But this book has a whole bunch of cool stuff in it. First of all, in addition to it has all the rules, but it has a lot of stuff in it that people didn't think were going to be in this game. So there's a lot of hints, and the developers have talked about kind of what they think the arc of this game is going to be. We have a question.
Are the stratagems used with command points, or is there another mechanic?
There are command points. I don't think they're called strategy points. So you get a certain amount of strategy points. They are doing some really interesting things in this game. So this game has a full set of matched play rules, and they are really interesting because they're doing a lot of things that we have not seen before in a Games Workshop game. They're definitely, I would say, they're definitely looking out in the rest of the industry and doing and finding some things that. So while a lot of the components, like, are there stratagems? Yes. But how do those stratagems work? How are they generated? Those are generated in very different ways than you're used to in, say, like 40K.
And just to put this out there, today we're going to be using most of the basic rules.
Yeah.
We're still learning. We want to...
But we will be playing in the future with all kinds of cool stuff. But we want to get you guys through a basic game, just see how it works. So, as an example, this book, what they have said is that they set Adeptus Titanicus during the Heresy because they feel that the Heresy has a lot to offer.
Sure.
So there's going to be a lot of, there'll be a lot of new Titans coming. There'll be a lot of new Knights coming. Forge World makes a million different Knights, so I'm sure we're going to see, as we see the normal Questoris Knight, I have no doubt we're going to see Dominus Knights, and we're going to maybe Armigers, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the Heresy is definitely when you have the biggest Titan battles, right?
Exactly. So you're going to see lots of different Titans coming, and then eventually they said once they have fully and then there's going to be a bunch of supplements that come out for this, which I assume basically are probably books, and those supplements will cover famous battles. So it's basically thematically based on important engagements that happened during the Heresy, and each of those supplements will probably introduce a handful of new units and new Titan legions with rules. So as an example, here's one of the interesting things that's going on that I was surprised at in this book. First of all, this game has formations.
Right.
So a Titan maniple is between 3 and 5 Titans. And that is the core of your army. You are required to have 3 Titans. If you're not running three Titans in match play, you have an illegal list. So you must have 3. And then, as they point out, within the orders of the Adeptus Titanicus, there are all kinds of different formations that these groups of 5 Titans are grouped into. Right? So you might and basically they have special rules. So the default one is the Axiom, which is the one of everything. So that's the balanced formation. So if you take one of those, you have to have a Warhound. You have to have a Warlord, you have to have a Reaver, and you have to have a Warhound, and then you can have 2 extra Titans within whatever. And if you take those 3 as part of your army, then you have an Axiom formation. Your maniple is an Axiom maniple, and you gain some set of benefits. The benefit for the Axiom is that your commands are more reliable.
Right.
So everyone in your formation is more reliable. You can take ones that are, and the core book has 3, but it says there will be many, many more in the future that they're going to release. So you have the basic one. You have the one that's mostly heavy Titans that gets benefits for shooting, but is dog slow, obviously.
Right.
And then there's the opposite. There's a maniple that's 1 Reaver and 4 Warhounds. That's the hunting pack one that gets benefits on like coordinated strikes. So different Titans can give other Titans free shots, and they can sneak up on you and do all kinds of cool stuff like that. So that was really interesting. I wasn't expecting formations to be in the book, and clearly there's going to be a lot coming. More, especially probably as they introduce new Titans.
And I think one interesting thing they also mention in the book is they say they're talking about Titans, and they're like, all your units are 1 Titan, and then like in the advanced rules, which one of the advanced rules we'll be using, there's rules for banners of knights. Knights come in units and banners. They're more than 1 model.
Right.
And they also kind of go, and like there might be in the future other kind of units that are multiple models that aren't just knights. So that opens up the room for vehicle squadrons, or formations, or flyers, or other kinds of things that could come in. One of the battles they talk about, of course, in this book is the burning, or the Battle of Tolera, right?
Oh, sure.
Which is the biggest armored battle.
Which is all Titans and waves of tanks.
Which that would be a pretty appropriate one to do in this, and you could introduce a lot of other vehicles and stuff.
Happened during the Heresy.
Happened during the Heresy. It's the biggest armored battle in history.
Right, ever.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Another interesting thing you got in here that I wasn't expecting is there are 2 sample legions, and legions have special rules.
Sure.
So it's not just I'm taking good guys and you're taking bad guys. It's I'm taking Legio Graphonicus.
Right.
And Legio Graphonicus gets has its own weird little special rules. They have unique pieces of equipment. So when you're building your army, you can be like, and it's cool because they go a little bit into the history and they explain why.
Right.
So Legio Gryphonicus are basically duelists. They have like a super strong code of honor, so they're all about fighting man to man.
Right.
And they get weird abilities like they can basically who is it? Someone in 40K has this. Basically, when the battle starts, each of your Titans can call another Titan and say, "That's my mark.
Sure.
I'm going to kill you." And as long as as long as no other Titan shoots at their mark, they get benefits. They're like +1 to hit, and they get all kinds of stuff. But if any other Titan even takes a shot at him, they lose those benefits for the rest of the game.
They violated the rules of the duel.
Exactly. So it's interesting in that it severely limits you, because now you're fighting man to man, and you can't coordinate your firepower at all against an opponent, but you do get a slight benefit for it. And then it points out that the Legio Gryphonicus has a giant amount of Reaver Titans compared to other legions. In fact, they're mostly Reavers. So because of that, they use their Reavers to do things that other Titan legions don't, because they have so many of them. So they have Reavers. They can substitute Reavers for warlords in formations or for warhounds in formations, and if they do that, they have weird special equipment they can give them. Like they can give their Reavers extra. This special kind of armor that makes them beefier. So they can take more. Shots, and then they have another, and then they have another mark of Reaver that has like secondary plasma generators built into its legs, so it's faster.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So when they're replacing, so stuff like that.
I'm just waiting for like the Imperator Titan, right?
Yes, because it'll be like
the actual big boy.
And then the traitor, the traitor legion that's in the book is Legio Tempestus, strangely, because they're not the ones that are in any of the color plates.
Right.
They're the Stormlords, which is odd because every picture in this book is is Legio Mortis, are these guys who are the Death Head. So I assume that we're going to get their rules in a later book. But Legio Tempestus is in here, and Legio Tempestus is really bizarre. They have
chaotic, you would say.
Oh well, they split. They split into loyalists and traitors, and all the loyalists were wiped out on Mars, and only the traitors survived. But Legio Tempestus is bizarre in that they have this whole code about dying with honor. So anytime one of their Titans dies, you like make a command check, and if it's successful, it gets like a free round of firing, like out of sequence right then. You're like, ugh,
that's pretty good.
That's like for a warlord, that's super good.
Yeah.
And they can deep strike medium and light Titans, which is nuts.
just pop in there.
Yeah, they said they can't do it with the big ones, but they can do it with like anything that's like size level like 7 and below. They can just bring in a lander mid battle and just boop.
So speaking of firing out of phase quickly.
Yes.
For those who are watching here new, what is the game flow? What's the phases like?
The phases of the game are. Let me open my little. The turn sequence is right. I had it. It was right here. I swear. I'm not just looking this up for the first time. There it is. All right. Maybe I am.
I can't work in these conditions.
I understand. We have the strategy phase, the movement phase, the damage control phase, the combat phase, and the end phase. 2 of those are pretty much record-keeping phases. The strategy phase right at the start, that is where you're going to be doing like any weird mission effects or kind of bizarre stuff, and that's when you're issuing orders. Orders in this game work. If you play Warhammer 40,000, you're familiar with Astra Militarum. They work very similar to that.
At least the old ones.
Correct. Yeah. The old orders in that you pick a unit. It has to make a command roll to accept an order. If it succeeds, it gets a little order token. You get the die of whatever order you want to put it. Then there's a little square on its card, and you put the order there to remind you that it has that order. And you do that, and both players alternate, going back and forth.
So is this, do I activate my entire army and do everything?
No.
Or do we take turns activating?
No. Adeptus Titanicus is an interleaved game. So in the phases, when you're firing and moving, you're going back and forth. Which, again, it's very cool. It slows the game down. Lots of people always say, interleave games are better. They're just different. They are slower. But in a game like Adeptus Titanicus, where you have 3 through 8 units per side, the game can take it. It can take that level of complexity because, the game... they say an average game at match play limits should play in 1 to 2 hours.
Okay.
So, pretty good.
And it's not I do everything with my unit. It's I activate my unit and move in that, do whatever we're doing in that phase.
Right, it's per phase. So it'll be like, it's the movement phase now. You move a unit. Now I move a unit. Now you move a unit. Now I move a unit. And we go back and forth until we're all done. Now we go into the damage control phase. Same thing.
1 or 2 hours, that's not bad, though.
No.
That's better than the original Adeptus Titanicus.
The original one...
Which I think was like 12 to 15 hours per
game. The original Adeptus Titanicus was replaced after like 3 years with Space Marine and proper Epic because it had a lot of detail.
I mean, there's one of those...
Like a lot. It had charts within charts.
It's like one of those games where no one's actually ever finished a game because like everyone who has...
Like Battle for North Africa.
Right, and everyone who has has died of old age by now because it's like 30 years old. So you have like the young veterans of the Adeptus Titanicus Wars, like Larry, who was like,
I remember.
I was a freshly shaved conscript. I couldn't even shave back then. They drafted me into the wars, and I never saw combat though.
I could not shave. Oh man, we're not going to say whether or not I can shave when Adeptus Titanicus first came out. It's classified. It's classified information. So during the strategy phase, you're going to be issuing orders to all your units. During the movement phase, obviously you're going to be moving them. So Titans have this really cool. We'll be showing you this here, but
yeah, I enjoy this a lot.
So
actually.
There's these arcs that you get with they're on the sprue, and how these arcs work is you get one for each of the main Titan sizes, and these slap onto the front of your base, and that is what you use to determine your forward arc. And which is used for weapons and where you can move.
And there's 2 forward arcs also, right? There's the arc and there's the forward.
And there's fixed, right?
Forward,
so this is used for 2 things. This is used. You use. I'm going to put it down here. Mars, if you can go to the overhead. We're going to go to. So what you have is.
So there's the arc, which is your standard.
Some adjustments from where I am too.
Your standard 90 degrees arc, right? Which is on the sides here.
Right, and so your movement is within your first 90-degree arc. So you can move straight forward. And
most
you can also just kind of drift over and put yourself within your arc without turning. Pivoting is different than moving. And then the arc also has, so you use this for movement and for determining your front degree 90 arc, which the vast majority of weapons in the game are either your front arc, which is normal, or it's fixed forward, where you use these parallel lines, and then it's the width of your base straight forward.
Right.
And there are quite a few weapons that are fixed forward.
That are fixed forward, yeah. Your carapace armor weapons, I believe, are all fixed forward.
Yes, I believe so.
Also, pro tip, we didn't 100% know this when we were building the models and everything.
Yes.
Arcs are very important in this game, so it can be tempting to do cool poses. Like on this one, where it's kind of posed off to the side. Unfortunately, that does make it a little harder to kind of
keep track of it.
Keep track of arcs, and at least a little less intuitive.
So we're going to be running this guy all game like that.
Yeah, because he is going forward, even though...
Because that is actually forward.
Yeah. So, it's...
Just so you know.
Yeah, if you're wanting...
Keep your Titans roughly pointed forward, or else you're going to be confusing yourself.
Yep. As cool as it can look, though.
Yes. So there's your arcs.
Do we want to, while we got the close-up, do you want to show off some of the detail on the Warhounds, or the Warlords?
Sure.
Showing off everything.
Yeah, these models are gorgeous.
So, I'm just going to, we'll show, I think this one's a little brightly colored, the color's a little better on this one.
Sure.
So, I mean, you can see here,
this is a very impressive, it has a full, skeleton, the way the Imperial Knights are, and then the armor plates glued to the top of it.
Yeah.
And it is really, really detailed.
Lots of cool detail. You've got all the vents and everything you can see on top.
All the void shield generators.
Void shields and everything. I think my favorite thing is that you've got this fully detailed...
Yeah, the back is very impressive.
So there's a loading gantry and everything.
Yeah, there's the gantry and there's the deck with the doors to get inside it, and then very cool as you'll notice if you look up underneath it, you do have the Ardex defense cannons. So it has I think heavy bolters on the back, and then it has a pair of them, and then it has las cannons up here under the carapace on the front. Like they're all there. Everything that is on. That is on the 40K model is on this thing.
And there are rules for that, too.
And there are, yes.
They do come... They don't come like this, but they come with actually good spaces for you to magnetize everything.
Which we did.
So it's actually very easy for you to magnetize the weapons.
Correct. All of the weapon hardpoints have cylindrical spaces in them on both sides, both on the upper shoulder joint where it joins, and on the weapon itself.
Yep.
And the top ones do too.
Yeah.
And you should absolutely magnetize these because while the core box only comes with these weapons, they have said,
they have cards for other ones.
This is how many weapons are in the game.
Right.
And they said that all of these weapons are going to be coming in the future, probably via either Forge World or Plastic Sprue.
Right. And there could be even more coming out.
Sure.
So
that's a lot. Like this is just for the Warlord, the Warhound, and the Reaver. Yeah. There's a ton. So you're going to want to magnetize these things.
Yeah. So that's lots of cool detail and everything on it.
I think this might be a question that I'll need to ask Chris. But do you remember if he glued those in without modification?
Glued
or
what?
If the magnets?
Correct. The magnet. These kits. You can see it. These kits come with. They come with a spacer in there. There is a cylindrical space specifically designed for you to drop a magnet into it. So he did not have to do any drilling. He just had to find a magnet of the right size and drop it in, and the corresponding joint on the underside of this is exactly the same. It already has the hole drilled into it, so you just drop your magnets in.
Yep. So absolutely designed to be magnetized.
Yeah. They realized very quickly that...
I'm honestly surprised they didn't just come with magnets in the box.
I am surprised as well.
At this point. I do also like you've got... I don't know if they come with any variants in here, but you do have like your Imperial symbol.
Yeah, there's an Imperial, an Eye of Horus, and then a blank.
Yeah. Okay. So
you
could build them both as
absolutely
as Imperial.
Correct. Yeah, because there will be some people. Yeah, I mean, we split them up because it's here in studio and we want to be able to play. But there will, if you love this game and you're into it and your community has a bunch of other people playing it. Buy it and paint them all the same Legion. And you're going to have 6 Knights and 2... I mean, you have a big army ready to go right there.
And the Knights, of course, also really cool. Lots of little detail on here.
While they're... Once you glue them, they stay put. But these are not quick assembly kits. The Knight sprues are complicated.
Yeah.
And you can pose them in a lot of different ways before you glue them together, which is really cool. Their weapons are on little swivels, so you can glue them.
They come with all the different weapon types. You've got the Gatling Vulcans, you've got the melt-a-gun cannon or whatever,
and the rapid fire autocannon.
Rapid fire, yeah.
And then
cannon.
And then you get 3 Reaper chain blades. Chain swords as well.
And you've also even got differences, subtle, but you can get melt-a-guns or heavy stubbers on them.
Yes. There is another interesting thing about these knights. So if you'll notice, take a look at the top of this knight. These knights have a little tiny hole right at the top of the carapace. So the Grandmaster Edition, its sprue.
Hold that nice and still for me.
All right, there it is. So you'll note there is a hole right in the center. That's for the rocket pod.
Right.
So the Grandmaster Edition, its knight sprue does not come with the rocket pod.
You pull the Titan out from the back and just have it just be the table.
So it'll focus.
There we go. Perfect.
There you go. So you will see that the hole is there for where the rocket pod goes. Now, looking at the pictures that are inside the rulebook, there are pictures of knights in the rulebook with the rocket pod. So the rocket pod is coming. So I assume that there's going to be a little teeny tiny sprue coming at some point in the future that will have the rocket pod. If we're lucky, maybe it'll have the power fist as well.
Sure.
Because when you purchase knights, you do purchase them. It's simply pick 2 weapons of your choice.
Yeah.
So you can build knights with double arms. You could build with double guns.
Right.
You could, in theory, build a knight errant. We just didn't want to because there's not a gauntlet. So we didn't want to build a knight with two swords because it would look weird. But I have no doubt that those are coming in the future.
And there is, one of the weapons for the Warlords is the Warlord Fist, right?
Yes.
So that'll be coming too at some point. So if you want your big Titan to grab things. Anyway, we've been chatting for a while. Do you wanna get into the game?
Sure, guys. Do you
have any quick questions?
Do you have any more questions? We're gonna answer questions here for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will move on over to our board that's just off camera, and we're gonna come back in a little bit, and we're gonna play a game for you. Any other questions? Ask it. People thinking about it. We're going to give you 30 seconds. Ask your questions now. Or forever hold your peace.
So, I know this might be something that Aventine can answer a little bit easier, but
Sure.
how difficult is it to put these guys together?
These are complicated these are simple. The knights are pretty simple. It's one small sprue with 3 knights per sprue. The Reaver, the Warlord, however, the Warlord is 3 sprues. It is a 3. Like, this is just as complicated to put together as building an Imperial Knight. These are not quick assembly. They're very highly posable. And as you can see, they have like the shoulder pad. This is 3 pieces per side. The rocket pod has, this rocket pod has 2 sides. The front piece with all the missiles sticking out, and it's got the it has the little hydraulic gantry things on the bottom. So like just this part here is 5 pieces. Each of these guns, the volcano cannons, probably that's about 8 or 9 pieces. So these are full kits. These are full kits for people who like building kits.
Yeah.
These are definitely not the quick assemble 8 or 9 pieces and they slap together and they're fixed. They're also pretty posable. These are all glued down in position, but you can definitely a lot of those of the like the knee joints and those things are posable.
Are connected to the leg joint.
Yes, the knee joints connected to the leg. Yeah. Hip joint. The hip joint's connected to the plasma reactor. So good.
Yeah. Oh.
So good. So, who's ready to watch some Titans kill each other?
Woo! Oh wait, I have to play, don't I?
You do.
Oh, I was just
You'll be doing the killing.
Oh.
It'll be great.
No, but there's not little people to kill. It's all just.
I
I only
know.
take pleasure when I can see them.
Alrighty, guys. So we're going to be back. Hold on tight. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with a game.
Yeah. I'm going to take the stream entirely down and then bring it back up. So go get a snack, go get something to drink. We'll be right back.
Come back and watch the Titans kill each other. It'll be great.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.